want them hard. Come get them tips. You need them hard. I got them tips. You want them hard. Come get them tips. Come get this tip.
What's up, bros and broettes? It's the BroHammer here, coming to you today with another installment of tips. So another good friend of mine, Chris Rogers, had an excellent question. He wanted to know what you can do to break through a plateau. You know, when you've been training and it just seems like you're not making any gains anymore, you're not losing any fat. Basically, your progress has been halted. Well, Chris, there are a few things you can do. There are just a few little adjustments that one would need to make to reap some kind of results, and you don't need to do all of them at the same time to get results. For instance, what you really need to do is you need to look at the different variables of your routine, your regimen. And when I'm talking about your routine, I'm not just talking about, you know, your training routine, like, oh, you go to the gym 3 days a week. No, I'm talking about, you know, your entire day. How often are you eating? Like we discussed in the first installment of tips. You also need to look at what you're eating. And how does it coincide with what exactly you're trying to do? Are you trying to lose fat? Are you trying to gain muscle? That should decide how you eat. Also, you need to look at your training style. You know, if you've been training in a certain style for an extended period of time, you know, it's basically the law of diminishing returns takes place. You're not going to see the same results that you saw when you first did it. So sometimes what you have to do is you have to shock the body. You have to shock the body into responding. And a few ways you can do that as far as training. Let's just talk about the training aspect of it first. Let's say you've been training in a split, like I train in a typical bodybuilder split. That type of split, training split, would be something like, you know, you're hitting a certain body part every day. Like on Monday, you hit chest, Tuesday, back, Wednesday, shoulders. Maybe you rest on Thursday, Friday, you hit legs, Saturday, you hit arms. I just gave you my training schedule. So now you can keep that same schedule, but the style of training that you're using when you go in the gym, you can change that up. Let's say you've been doing high reps. You know, basically high reps is anything, you know, 12 to 15 reps and above. And you do that for every single exercise that you do on chest. Well, we all know that you're not going to go too heavy when you go high reps. So if you want to break through a plateau, switch it up. Instead of doing high reps, try some hypertrophy training. Try to do 6 to 10 reps per set with heavier weight. And I guarantee you your body's going to respond to it. It's going to be a shock. It's going to be like, oh, what is this? It's a new stimulus. So I need to adjust for that stimulus. And then your body will probably start to grow again, more than likely. Also, look at the cardiovascular activity that you're doing. If you're doing, you know, just steady state cardio, where you're basically just doing 30, maybe 45 minutes a day or 5 days a week after your workout, or maybe you're just going 3 miles an hour on the treadmill, 3.5, a nice, almost leisurely to brisk walk on the treadmill, and you stop seeing results from that as far as fat loss, switch it up. Try some HIIT training. HIIT is a high intensity interval training. You know, basically you can keep that same three mile pace, do that for a minute, and then for 30 seconds, take it up a notch. You know, either change the incline on the treadmill and change the speed. You know, try to do a light jog for 30 seconds, and then come back down and do your regular walk for a minute. That's another way that you can shock the body into responding as well. Now, let's look at the food aspect of it as far as your eating. Feeding frequency or how often you eat really doesn't change depending on what your goals are, which, I mean, everybody wants to lose fat, you know, and most guys, we want to build muscle. So depending on what your goals are, the frequency really doesn't change. But now the content of the food does change. The macros may change up a little bit. So if you are building muscle, you probably want to have a little more carbs in your diet. You want to have protein, moderate to low fats. Let's say you start to notice that you're gaining a little weight as you're putting on muscle. You may want to just look at the variables, look at your diet and say, okay, maybe if I subtract a little bit of this, or subtract a little bit of that. You really don't want to, you want to use what you got to get what you want. No, you want to get the most out of the least. And what I mean by that, you don't want to make a significant, gigantic change, because it's like, where do you have to go from there? So just make small changes and get as much as you can off of those changes. You know, keep building upon that. You know, for instance, if somebody's just now starting, one of my clients, they're just starting to train, I would not train them the same way that I trained myself. We would start off, you know, at a certain level, and then we will build upon that, because eventually they're going to plateau, and that's when we need to add a little bit more. Another thing that you could do with the cardio, you can just simply add 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So say if you notice the fat loss is slowed down and you're only doing 30 minutes of cardio a day, bump it up to 10 minutes a day, you know, 5 days a week. Then, you know, just keep adding more time as the days or as the weeks go on. You know, maybe every 2 weeks you add 10 minutes to it. Then eventually you can get to where you're doing a session in the morning. Maybe you get up in the morning and you do 20 minutes of cardio, and then you're doing 30 minutes after your workout. So you're already up to 50 minutes, right? I mean, it's really simple. You know, it's just small little changes and tweaks that you can make that will break you out of a plateau.
Tips, you need them. I got them. Tips, you want them. Come get them. Tips, you need them. I got them. Tips, you want them. Come get them. Tips, come get this tip.